Now, for many, if you had evidence that someone was a serial rapist, you would go straight to the police and report this most serious of criminal offences. This would be a clear issue for the criminal justice system, and few would have such a disregard for the rule of law as to think, an account that someone's a serial rapist. This would get loads of hits on my blog. So PZ Myers has decided to publish these accusations that Michael Shermer is a serial rapist. This account was apparently given to Carrie, who is presumably Carrie Poppy, who has a history of passing things on to PZ Myers, and then PZ Myers, having got this account, published it on his blog. And it reads, "At a conference, Mr. Shermer coerced me into a position where I could not consent, and then had sex with me. I can't give more details, as that would reveal my identity, and I'm very scared that he will come after me in some way. But I wanted to share the story in case it helps anyone else ward off a similar situation from happening. I reached out to one organization that was involved in the event at which I was raped, and they refused to take my concerns seriously. Ever since, I've heard stories about him doing things. 5 different people have directly told me they did the same to them, and wanted to just say something and warn people, and I didn't know how. I hope this protects someone." Well, let's start with the most obvious and maybe damning thing of all. That is, if you were raped and wanted real justice for it, that you really wanted to protect other people, like you say, you would just take this criminal offence to the police. You do not go drama-mongering on tabloid blogs. But to many, the weasel words jump straight off the page on the very first line. "Mr. Shermer coerced me into a position where I could not consent and then had sex with me." Well, non-consensual sex is called rape. So why not just say, "Shermer raped me"? And then conveniently, I can't give any more details. I mean, what the hell is that? So we have this third-hand account of rape that just asks us to accept this on face value and gives no details, none whatsoever. I mean, this is like a variation on The Boy Who Cried Wolf. Apart from when the villagers rush up and it's dark and the boy says, "Actually, I didn't actually directly see the wolf, but I did read it in a book that someone saw a wolf, so I cried wolf." Well, maybe there is a wolf in the dark. Or maybe the boy is just being a jerk and hiding behind some pretty tenuous, plausible deniability. I mean, how seriously would you take it if I would publish a third-hand account which reads something like this, that Mrs. Famous coerced me into a position where I could not consent, and they took one of my kidneys and sold it to an organ harvesting cult. I reported it to the conference organisers, but they ignored it, swept it under the rug. I can't give you any more details, because I'm legitimately afraid that she might come after my other kidney. But I had to tell you all, because I'm afraid that she might go and harvest other people's organs. But needless to say, I can tell you with absolute certainty that Mrs. Famous coerced me into a position where I could not consent, and I know 5 other people who she's done this to. But I can't give you any details. Yeah, this is the reason why we have fair trials for criminal offences, and do not hold them in the court of public opinion in cases built on hearsay, innuendo, and insinuation. So, according to PZ Myers, she reported it to an organisation at the time, and it was dismissed, swept under the rug, ignored. This, to me, just reeks of implausibility. She tells the conference organisers that she was raped, and they did nothing? I mean, doesn't that just sound grotesquely implausible? Because isn't their first response likely to be, "Oh my God, we have got to make sure that we do not legally expose ourselves here"? But let's just ignore that for a moment and say that, okay, she reported it to the conference organisers who did nothing. Well, of course, she took it straight to the police and reported this crime, right? Well, according to PZ, well, it's been a few years, so no law agency is going to do anything about it now. So no, she didn't bother to report it to the police. I mean, this to me doesn't make a lot of sense, that she reported the rape to the conference organisers, but not to the police. But let me explain something to you here, PZ. In our current system, it's actually technically quite difficult for the legal system to address crimes they don't know anything about. In fact, as this shocking graph shows, crimes that no one knows anything about have a shocking 0% conviction rate.
So much for recorded crimes, but crimes we know nothing about are going up as well.
But this is maybe what bothers me most about this whole thing, is this is an attempt to do an entire end run around the whole justice system. I mean, where is the need for a fair trial, for a jury to examine the facts and to establish or not the guilt of the accused of the most serious criminal offences, when I can just accuse him of being a rapist now? And that's maybe the second thing. To most people, publishing hearsay, libelous accusations of the most serious of crimes is simply a no-brainer, because it's fucking libel. But not to Myers. To him, this is a difficult ethical question. Indeed, he even saw fit to publish this third-hand rape accusation in the category of ethics. I mean, if, and yet this is the biggest looking for a reason to smear someone Glenn Beck style if in history.
If I'm right, if I am right, America transforms into a place where guys like me don't make any money. If I am wrong, well, then I'd be wildly discredited, now wouldn't I? What would be my motivation?
If this third-hand hearsay account is correct, then by not publishing it, he is condemning other women to the fate of this alleged sexual predator. Or if he doesn't publish, then he is protecting the alleged sexual predator. I mean, let me ask maybe the more pertinent question. Why? If Myers thinks that he has identified a serial rapist, did he not report it to the police? I mean, does PZ Myers not think that a serial rapist should be reported to the police? Or maybe Myers thinks that this is not real evidence. In which case, why is he publishing it on his blog? I mean, this was an ethical dilemma for a professor at the University of Minnesota, Morris. I mean, let's be real. Rape is a criminal offence. We have this thing called the legal justice system that deals with criminal offences. And this is the way that it works. You report the criminal activity to the police, who investigate it, and maybe then it gets taken to a court of law, and if they are shown to be guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, they are punished by the state. However, this is not the way that it works. You get some third-hand hearsay account of some purported offence, and you, being fully aware that you think this is a great criminal injustice, don't see fit to report this to the police because, screw the legal justice system. I've got a better idea. Why don't I just publish these libelous accusations and we'll have a good old-fashioned witch trial by public opinion? Yeah, that's right. Anyone who suggests that this alleged rapist should get a fair trial for the crimes for which they are accused is clearly a rape sympathiser, apologising for rape culture. And because I've seen the callow arguments that these witch hunters will use, saying that, well, this isn't a witch trial because rape is real and witches aren't. Oh, bravo, you don't say. I guess that means that McCarthy didn't have witch hunts either, because communism was real and witches aren't. Look, munchkins, we call them witch trials because they throw away the central ideas of our justice system, like innocent until proven guilty, and the right to a fair and speedy trial, and you throw them away in favour of simply finding a person guilty by pointing at them and shouting witch. Or in this case, rapist. Indeed, Star Trek The Next Generation had an excellent episode on such matters.
Jadan has admitted his guilt.
That's true, and he will stand for his crime.
Tarsus has all but done the same.
How?
He refused to answer the question about his Romulan grandfather.
That is not a crime, Worf. Nor can we infer his guilt because he didn't respond.
Sir, if a man were not afraid of the truth, he would answer.
Oh, no. We cannot allow ourselves to think that.
Sir, The Federation does have enemies. We must seek them out.
Oh, yes. That's how it starts. But the road from legitimate suspicion to rampant paranoia is very much shorter than we think. Something is wrong here, Mr. Wolf. I don't like what we have become.
And it's amazing to watch how the regular commenters on P.Z. Myers' blog will happily turn an accusation into a statement of fact. And just so we're clear, P.Z. Myers makes it clear that he actively polices the comments on his blog, stating things like, just a word to everyone, I'm trigger happy on the banhammer after that humongous thread full of trolling idiots. So anyone who starts reciting the tired arguments of the rape apologists from that thread here are just getting quietly insta-banned. This is an almost unbelievable exchange between one Infinite Art Supply and one of P.Z. Myers' regular commenters, one Nerd of Redhead. Infinite Art Supply writes, I've read enough of these 3,000 plus comments to convince myself that Michael Shermer is being lynched on this blog. To which Nerd of Redhead replies, gee, no noose, no stakes, no bonfire, nothing of any sort of punishment being meted out by this blog. Tell Porky's much liar and bullshitter. Because when you lie like that about this, you will lie and bullshit about everything. That much is obvious. And in reply to, regarding what he may or may not have done, in free democratic societies we are lucky enough to have something which at least aspires to be a legal system. A fair trial and an assumption of innocence until the evidence overwhelmingly proves otherwise is what that entails. To which Nerd of Redhead replies, more bullshit from an obtuse liar and bullshitter. This isn't a legal matter. It is warning women about the predatory actions of a known rapist, complete with evidence. And this is the absolutely unbelievable bit. The guy who turns these third-hand allegations into a statement of fact that Shermer is a known rapist and sexual predator, he gets to go on his way no problem. However, the guy advocating for innocent until proven guilty gets banned. Maybe the best way to convey this to P.Z. Myers would be the concept of reciprocation. That is, how would he feel if this happened to him? Would he see this as due process, as justice? I mean, let's just say, for instance, that someone heard a rumour that he was demanding sexual favours, satanic rituals and animal sacrifices from his students in order for him to let them pass his class. And then someone prevaricates on their blog that, now I'm sitting here trying to resolve this dilemma, to reveal it or not. God damn it, what's dominating my head isn't the consequences, but the question, what is the right thing to do? Do I stand up for the one who has no recourse, no way out, no other options to help others? Or do I shelter the big, powerful name guys from an accusation? Now let's just say that following the publication of these accusations, that there are a load of further comments from anonymous people coming forwards who until then have been suffering in silence, fearing that Myers will come after them. And they tell their stories about how Myers pressured them into deviant acts. Does this now confirm the rumour? Does this now confirm Myers' guilt? I mean, shouldn't we always listen to the victim? Oh, especially third-hand anonymous victims. Would Myers now be guilty of abusing his position of power over his students in order to blackmail them into deviant acts? Should he now be turned into a pariah for his crimes? Should he be brown-listed from further events and treated as a social leper? Should he be up in front of the ethical board of his university, tarred for life as a sexual offender? No? Then why the fuck does he think that it's okay to pull this bullshit on someone else? Myers then goes on to nail the lid on his academic and public career with this one. So following directly on from his account that Shermer is a serial rapist, he adds this to his post to bolster the case that Shermer is a serial rapist. Women are still writing to me with their personal stories. This one isn't so awful, but it is mainly illustrative of his tactics. There was nothing here that would form the basis of any serious kind of complaint. But it's important, I think, to tell you exactly what kind of behavior you should watch out for from him.
But the hunt didn't end there. Another man, Mr. Simon Tarses, was brought to trial, and it was a trial, no matter what others choose to call it. A trial based on insinuation and innuendo. Nothing substantive offered against Mr. Tarses, much less proven.
Michael Shermer was the guest of honor at an atheist event I attended in the fall of 2006. I was on the board of the group who hosted it. It's a very short story. I got my book signed, and then, at the post-speech party, Shermer chatted with me at great length while refilling my wine glass repeatedly. I lost count of how many drinks I had. He was flirting with me, and I'm non-confrontational and unwilling to be rude, so I laughed it off. He made sure my wine glass stayed full. It goes on. But seriously, PC, what the fuck are you on? Trying to bolster the accusation that someone is a serial rapist with this account that when at a social event, Michael Shermer kept filling up a lady's wine glass.
That is not a crime, Worf. A trial based on insinuation and innuendo. Nothing substantive offered against Mr. Tarses, much less proven.
And with that, I will leave you with the cutting satire of Mr. Deitys' video on this.
Hey everyone, thanks again for watching. I want to take this time today to answer a question I get a lot. Why don't I believe in the Gospels? The first big problem I have with the Gospels is that they are anonymous. A lot of people don't know that, but it's true. And no good skeptic, atheist, free thinker should ever accept any anonymous report, just offhand. Especially when we're talking about something truly awful. I mean, the Gospel writers have Jesus doing some pretty ugly stuff. Killing a tree for no reason, which makes him look completely insane. They have him claiming to be God, which would have been a major blasphemy within Judaism at the time. And then they have him turning water into wine, which we all know is just a tactic to get the ladies drunk, right? I mean, no one turns water into wine for any reason that's not just completely nefarious. But if you're going to talk shit about someone like that, you can't do that anonymously. And if you do, what is that? What are we talking about? That's nothing more than gossip. And I think as good skeptics, atheists, and free thinkers, we should all know how absolutely toxic, disgusting, and beneath us it is to repeat and or report mere gossip.
Would you like a refill?
No, thank you. Now, see how easy that was? Here's another little tip. If you find it hard to say no to the refill, you can just leave the glass full. Don't take another sip. That's my friendly little piece of advice to those of you without a backbone or any sense of personal responsibility. The other problem with the Gospels is that these anonymous reports are made years after the fact. Some scholars say decades. That gives Jesus no opportunity to refute the claims. I mean, there isn't a decent justice system in the entire world that doesn't give the accused the right to confront his or her accuser. That's just basic justice. And in many cases, even the witnesses of the witnesses are anonymous. Really? Come on. We're skeptics. We don't take stuff like that at face value. The other problem here is confirmation bias, the tendency to see only what we want to see. That's clearly what the Gospel writers were doing here. They wanted a hero, or a villain, depending on your perspective, and they found one. But as good skeptics, we should all know the power of confirmation bias. I mean, for heaven's sake, they found witches in Salem, and Joe McCarthy found a communist under every bed. As skeptics, we need to stand up to these anonymous gospel authors and those who repeat such gossip and say, have you no sense of decency, sir? At long last, have you left no sense of decency? Of course, if you're completely divorced from the skeptic community, I don't expect you to understand these basic principles, but the rest of us should know better. Remember, do unto others. So I hope that answers that question once and for all.